Go.
Hello, my name is Nelly Sharafian, and we are TNIG Productions, and this is our concept for A Midsummer Night's Dream. So the time period for our production is in 1930s neighborhood Athens in Bronx, New York City. The picture of the house is an example of what the house of Theseus is going to look like, since he was an upper class person. And the picture of the park will represent the wood, which is also going to be in New York City. Our central image is the moon because it represents the connection between the lovers, and it also represents romance, which is shown in the Midsummer Night's Dream, and it will be located throughout the whole play. The tone of our production will be sad and serious, since the story is happening during the Great Depression, and the volume of the production will be low and deep between the characters.
So for our main themes, we decided to go with love and appearance versus reality. So we chose love because that's one of the biggest themes in the full story. And it's something that Shakespeare explores, and how people tend to fall in love with those that fit their ideals of what is beautiful. And we chose appearance versus reality because many of the characters were having dreams throughout the story. They were in a dreamlike state or thinking that they were dreaming, and much of the play takes place at night. So we have references to moonlight, which changes the appearance of what it illuminates. And even when characters are awake, they're still in a dreamlike state. For our costume, since we chose the 1930s, we chose a costume for Helena and Theseus. And the reason why we chose the costume for Helena is because in the storyline, we saw that she dressed very simple, not too colorful. And for Theseus, since he's more high class, for our concept, we chose this type of clothing because it shows high class and elegance. And a guy who is dressed more this way is more at the top of a hierarchy. For our color palette, we decided to choose many colors instead of just a few, because we wanted multiple colors for our lighting, our costumes, our scenery, and for advertisement. And since the tone of our play is more deep and sad, we decided to go with more deeper and more neutral colors. For our costumes, we want to do more deep reds, blacks, navy blues. For our scenery, we want light nudes and browns, maybe for the House of Theseus and the furniture, and some light green and white for the park. And for the lighting, we want more darker blues, whites, yellows, and for advertisement, we want to do reds, blues, blacks, and some of white as well. And Gohar, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, I am Gohar, and today I am going to present our props. We chose reason why we chose this as a props is because the most central prop would be a turtle flower to use as the flower that has been enchanted by Cupid's arrow. Reason why we chose a tree, because the forest that Helena and Demetrius were in, they are going to have many trees in our set design plan, not just one. And our next slide.
Hold on.
There. Okay.
Wait. There we go.
props continued, we chose a sword to show the love Theseus has for Hippolyta. After expressing his excitement for his wedding, Theseus states, Hippolyta, I would with my sword, and won the law of doing the injures. Here Theseus is stating that won Hippolyta's love through fighting and hurting her. We chose a dagger instead of a sword because it goes with part of our concept and time frame. Thank you for your attention. If you have a question, I can answer it.
Hi, I'm Isaiah, and I will be talking about the theater space and anything below that. So now the type of theater space that we are going to be using is a prosotheum, mostly because the space is has tons of room for our production, and it has big seating as well within the area. And the location we are choosing will be the Alex Theater in Glendale, California. Next slide. Now for the set design, mostly because it's in the 1930s, we're doing it's different designs for the settings that take place. We're doing a house and the park, or the woods in this case. Now within the house, again, because it's the 1930s, the furniture that will be within the house will be relative to what was in the 1930s and what was more or less popular within that time period. As for the park, it's going to be, the green trees are a symbol of longevity of love, mostly because a wedding will be happening there between Hippolyta and Theseus. And we can place a bench under the tree, a little old made of wood, that's old and made of wood, where the lovers could sit together. In the distance, you will be able to see an artificial lake view within the background, and which we can also change by the light reflection according to the hours of the day during that season. Next slide, please. Now, for our description of the concept, this story will also be taking place in the 1930s, as I've said before. Now, within the 1930s, there weren't really swords involved. It was more or less daggers as well as firearms within that time period. Now, within that time period, there was crime families within that time, and there was a lot of violence due to these crime families. Now, the clothing will be changed within that time period to fit their status within this play. As said before, Theseus will have more elegant clothing due to his higher ranking within that society, and Helena will have kind of like this more simple clothing because of her status within this time. Now, within the production, it will be mostly done at night, mostly because that is usually where the setting was taking place. And these changes will allow for our production to perform within the original concept, but with a different time period. Now, within that, with Theseus being the Duke of Athens, we believe him to be the mayor within this neighborhood of Athens in the Bronx, as well as Hippolyta being will be higher up within a society near Athens in which Theseus will be marrying into. Now, as for Hermia and Lysander and Demetrius, they will be within this middle class within that time period due to their status. And for Obius, and I believe her name is Titiana, they will be, since they're king and queens of fairies, they will be seen as these crime family, mostly because that is usually what was higher up, along with these mayor. It was usually crime families that were higher up in ranks. Thank you for your time.